Black Country New Road are an English rock band formed in Cambridge in 2018. Their sound mainly consists of post-punk, art rock, and chamber pop, and they've put out 3 studio albums as of this video. For the First Time in 2021, Ants From Up There in 2022, and Forever How Long in 2025. In this video, we'll be looking into the BCNR Iceberg made by user Dr. Felix PhD, as well as a few of my own entries. And if you're one of the 10 people in the world that still doesn't know what an iceberg is, it essentially starts with well-known information at the top and slowly gets more obscure as you go down. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into it. This is the Black Country New Road Iceberg Explained. Ants From Up There. Ants From Up There is BCNR's most popular and critically acclaimed album, containing many of the band's biggest songs, such as The Place Where He Inserted the Blade, Concord, and Chaos Space Marine. This album has also gotten an insane amount of critical acclaim across different music websites. Album of the Year, my preferred website, has placed Ants From Up There as the highest rated album of 2022, with a user score of 90, which is just insane. Anyway, this album is huge and amazing, and if you're watching this video, you probably already know about it. Band name came from a Wikipedia random article generator. I've always wondered what the name Black Country New Road meant, and thanks to making this video, I've finally gotten to learning about it. BCNR picked their name when going through a random article generator on Wikipedia. It landed them on the Black Country New Road, which is an actual road that goes through the West Midlands of England. That's literally all the name is supposed to be. I always assumed it was some sort of abstract political statement or something, but it's literally just by chance. Also, before BCNR was fully formed, the band went by the name Nervous Conditions, which, if I'm being honest, I definitely don't like as much as their current name. The reason the band switched names is because of some drama with the members. In 2018, the band had a slightly different lineup, featuring Connor Brown on the keyboard. However, due to some sexual assault allegations, the band split up for a bit, then later reformed with the new name, Black Country New Road. Basketball Shoes is about a wet dream. Yeah, in case you didn't know, the final song on Ants From Up There, Basketball Shoes, is about a wet dream, specifically a wet dream about Charli XCX. We can tell mainly from the refrain at the end of the song that says, "Oh, in my bed sheets now wet, of Charli I pray to forget. All I've been forms the drone, we sing the rest. Oh, your generous loan to me, your crippling interest." Now, that refrain is about as direct as he gets on this song. There's a few other lines that kinda hint towards something sexual going on, but it's mainly just this. However, this song had been in the works for at least 3 years before it was released, and we see the band perform it in 2019 where the lyrics are a bit different. Here's a little section from the older version. "I have this dream about Charli XCX, finding her way to me on a train, from the London Eye to the Big Ben. She knows who I am, she's studied my prose, she's read all my texts. I've died like 15 times inside just watching her undress. I should not have wrote you that letter. Believe me, I'm trying to be better. Wearing me, Charli, in dreams." These new lyrics help contextualize the exact meaning of this song. On the 2022 album version, Basketball Shoes is a lot more ambiguous with what exactly it's trying to say. It all just kinda sounds like an emotional breakdown that ends with a reference to a wet dream. But in this original version, to me, it sounds a lot more like a real, understandable narrative. Isaac is fantasizing about Charli XCX, writing her letters, and imagine her being obsessed with him, and reading all of his texts and thinking about him all the time. This obsession slowly grows to a point where it occupies his mind so much that he starts dreaming about her having sex with him and them being in a relationship. It's a story about an unhealthy fan, which, if we compare this song's themes to the rest of Ants From Up There, it kinda makes sense in comparison to the rest of the album. This album has a lot of songs about dealing with depression and loss, as well as sexual intimacy and having a hard time expressing your sexuality in a healthy way. Main point is, this song is great, and a super weird, interesting way to tie the album's narrative together. Isaac left the band. In 2022, Isaac Wood, the lead singer and songwriter of the band, announced that he would be leaving BCNR. Just 4 days before the release of Ants From Up There, the band released this statement. "We have some news to share concerning the future of the band. Please read on the information on upcoming shows, but it seems right to pass on this message from Isaac first. Hello everyone, I have bad news, which is that I have been feeling sad and afraid too. And I have tried to make this not true, but it is the kind of sad and afraid feeling that makes it hard to play guitar and sing at the same time. Together we have been writing songs and then performing them, which at times has been an incredible doing. But more now, everything happens that I am feeling not so great, and it means from now I won't be a member of the group anymore. To be clear, this is completely in spite of 6 of the greatest people I know, who were and are wonderful in a sparkling way. If you're reading this, maybe you have seen some of that. It has been a great pleasure, and I would like to say the words thank you to everyone." The rest of the band has commented on Isaac's departure, saying that the remaining 6 members had already begun to work on new music without Isaac, as they were aware of his planned exit long before it was announced. Out of respect for Isaac, the rest of the band has chosen not to perform material from their first 2 albums live, but has remained open to the idea of him returning to the band. Second Best X Tribute Act. On the song Science Fair from For the First Time, Isaac Wood says this.
Just to think I could have left the fair with my dignity intact and fled from the stage with the world's second best Slint tribute act.
I can't confirm whether or not he's talking about the band itself being a Slint tribute act, but if I had to guess, that's probably what he's saying. Anyway, ever since he said this, fans caught on to the phrase and started calling them the second best tribute act of different bands as a joke. Another thing that might have a bit to do with this is that some people actually thought of BCNR as a ripoff of Slint when For the First Time came out. Now, they have since disproved this claim with their newer albums, so it kinda just turned into a joke in the community. Original Athens France single. Athens France is a song from For the First Time, and there's an original single version that's a little bit different from the one you hear on streaming services right now. The main difference is the mixing and some of the lyrics. These lyrics are a lot more explicit about this dynamic between Isaac and whoever he's talking about, like the line where he says, "She tries to fuck me, I pretend I'm asleep instead." This song is about a boy who feels a bit awkward about sex, who's around or visiting a girl who's a lot more comfortable than he is, and these alternate lyrics make it a lot easier to figure that out. The Windmill. The Windmill is a pub and live music venue from London and is known for being one of the best venues in the UK. Even though it has a capacity of only around 150 people, its impact on the indie scene in that area is insane. It began as a pub around 2002 and started getting involved with more and more live music as time went on. During the late 2010s, the Windmill became a birthing place for some of the best UK indie music around. Bands like BCNR, Black Midi, Squid started to get popular after refurbishing their sound at the Windmill. Before BCNR ever put out an album, they performed a lot of their best songs in the Windmill. In 2018 through 2019, they gave many iconic performances of some of their most acclaimed and popular work. Songs like Sunglasses, Athens France, Snow Globes, and Basketball Shoes were all performed there, years before they came out on streaming services. So basically, the Windmill was the place that BCNR grew into an amazing band. Black Midi New Road Xmas Special. In 2019, BCNR collaborated with the prog rock band Black Midi to host a livestream where they performed a few songs to raise money for the Windmill. Unsurprisingly, the mix of Black Midi and BCNR's talent made for an effortlessly amazing show. They mostly just did small jam sessions, but also included an early version of the song Snow Globes, which would later appear on Ants From Up There. This livestream went so well that they decided to do it again next year, where they covered a bunch of different songs, from Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, to The Scientist by Coldplay, all the way to Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Both live streams were great, and they're both available on YouTube. I recommend checking them out if you haven't yet. Television Show. Television Show is a song by Ethan P. Flynn, and it features BCNR on the backing instrumentals. I've never heard of Ethan P. Flynn, but to me he sounds like he's trying to do his best Isaac Wood impression, but it just doesn't sound as good on this song. It's also not super well mixed, and it's just all around not the most interesting song, which is probably why it flew under the radar for most BCNR fans, but hey, it does exist and it's on Spotify if you want to give it a listen. Hopefully you'll like it more than I do. BCNR TikTok account. For those who don't know, BCNR has a TikTok account where they mostly just post random little videos promoting their stuff or showing the world whatever they're up to. They started posting in late 2020 to promote their debut album For the First Time, and since then they've been teasing singles, albums, and just posting random stuff. Never Again EP. Never Again was an EP released in 2021, and it contains 4 different covers: Mamma Mia by ABBA, Chiquitita by ABBA, Time to Pretend by MGMT, and Someone Like You by Adele. Since they had such a fun time making these songs, they decided to follow it up with a second part in 2022, featuring Us by Regina Spektor, So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings by Caroline Polachek, I Think I Need a New Heart by The Magnetic Fields, and Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish. Now, these releases aren't on streaming services, probably since they're not intended to be that serious. The band mostly just made these for fun, and so people have a bit of a tough time finding these songs. It seems like the only way to get them is by buying the vinyl or finding some crappy bootleg version somewhere. Jockstrap. Jockstrap is a 2-man band featuring Taylor Sky and Georgia Ellery from BCNR. As far as side projects from this band go, I think this one is definitely the biggest, with this band having over 100,000 monthly listeners and only one album. Now, to describe the sound of this band, it's mainly a mix of electropop, art pop, and chamber pop. In my opinion, it's pretty great, and you should go listen to it if you haven't. If you need it any more convincing, it also has a really good critical reception as well, with an 81 user score on Album of the Year, as well as an 8 from the Needle Drop. So yeah, this album's great, and I'm excited to see if this band drops any more music. Ants From Up There originally being called Birdsong. According to this post from the band, Ants From Up There was originally called Birdsong before the band changed the name. I'm really glad they did, because I really love the album title, Ants From Up There, and I think it fits the themes of the airplane and Concorde really well. Tyler's dad is in Underworld. Underworld is a techno and house band who started in the 90s, and they helped shape the sound of the genre as we currently know it. The band was formed by two members, Rick Smith and Carl Hyde, the latter being the father of Tyler Hyde, who writes and performs guitar, bass, and vocals for BCNR. Because of this connection, Tyler has appeared on a few different Underworld songs, contributing vocals for the song Ova Nova and Nylon Strung from Barbara Barbara We Face a Shining Future, and contributing bass for the song 100-Weight Hammer from the EP Drift. According to a thread on Reddit, the two bands have also performed at the same festival together. Outside of this, BCNR fans mostly just find this to be an interesting fact. Isaac works in a cake shop now. When Isaac Wood left BCNR in 2022, he never really said exactly what he planned to do. Most people just knew that the band would never be quite the same. With how serious of a situation this is, it's really funny to see that his resolution to his problem was to start working in a cake shop. It feels almost like a solution to a cartoon or something, but he works there. Lots of BCNR fans are going out of their way to try and find more information on him or any statements from him, but apparently the rest of the band says he's doing well and is still close with the band, but wants people to respect his privacy. So I guess it's good that no one has found a lot of information about him. Forever How Long alternate titles. Before landing on the name Forever How Long, the band brainstormed quite a bit to find the perfect title for their third album, and luckily they released all the alternate titles onto one of their shirts. There's quite a lot of names here, and I like some of them quite a bit, like the Mayor of Cambridge, and This Year I Was Born 100 Times, and a few others. If I'm being honest, I'm not really a big fan of the name Forever How Long. It's really forgettable to me, and I think some of these picks would have been a bit better. Suggestions Bar. Suggestions Bar is an unreleased song from BCNR that also goes by the name MacBook Pro or Algorithm, and it's a song about letting your whole life be dictated by algorithms and whatever will give you the most dopamine. The lyrics talk about watching pop videos on YouTube from Kanye West and Miley Cyrus, and playing catch-up mobile games, essentially saying that this person is being guided entirely by their subconscious. The instrumental is also really tense. It honestly reminds me of some Maruha songs. It's an interesting listen, and though it was never released, you can find live versions of it on YouTube. Tyler Cried. Tyler Cried is the stage name that Tyler Hyde goes by when she performs by herself. She doesn't have any music released under this name, but she mostly just writes songs and sings them, and if she really likes them, she'll revise them a bit more and put them on a BCNR album. That's what ended up happening with a few songs from Live at Bush Hall, since we see her perform them by herself before they were out officially. Kendall Jenner. Kendall Jenner is another unreleased BCNR song that was performed in 2019 as the band was still kind of figuring out their sound. It mostly struck a chord with the audience because of its really violent and upfront lyrics, talking about Kendall Jenner stabbing herself in the face. It's a really weird song. In the YouTube video I found of this song, a lot of the comments talked about how it should have been on For the First Time, BCNR's first album, and I really agree. It sounds a lot like the other songs from that album, and with a little bit of refinement, it could have worked really well on that album. Isaac Wood's solo act. Just like Tyler Hyde, Isaac Wood does some solo work under a pseudonym, this one being The Guest. There's not a ton of videos of his performances by himself, but when he's not backed by the rest of the band, he seems to like doing more of spoken word over backing, repeating electronic instrumentals. This one specific live recording from 2018 reminds me of the band Headache a little bit, so if you enjoyed this, you might want to check out that band. Outside of live performances, The Guest has one song on streaming services that fans seem to like a lot. The song is called Theme from Failure, and it's this spoken word epic about a young man who has everything he wants but still can't manage to be happy. It's a really interesting song, and it's also referenced in Athens, France, when Isaac Wood said, "Like Theme from Failure recorded just for you, like the new road built out of black country ground, I have learned so little." The Guest also has two other songs on Spotify, Good Dog and Bad Dog, but they're not quite as interesting, but still worth checking out. Nina Lim. Since 2021, Nina Lim has occasionally substituted for Georgia Ellery as violinist for BCNR. She's not very well known since, obviously, she hasn't written any of BCNR's stuff, but all the fans that are familiar with her say she's amazing and works really well with the band. Outside of performing with BCNR, she has her own solo stuff, which is kind of all over the place sound-wise, ranging from early The Weeknd type R&B to folky art country to synth pop. It's a bit of a messy discography, but her ability to play the violin really shines through on a lot of these songs. Lou Smith's YouTube channel. Lou Smith is a London-based filmmaker who recorded a lot of BCNR's performances when the band was still really unknown. In 2018 through 2020, Lou Smith was able to get pretty high-quality footage of some of BCNR's most iconic performances at the Windmill. Some of these performances were songs that would eventually be on For the First Time or Ants From Up There. Aside from BCNR, he also has recorded a ton of other bands like Black Midi, King Cruel, The Last Dinner Party, and a bunch more. Professor Sky. Professor Sky is a YouTuber who gives on-the-spot, one-take reviews of critically acclaimed albums and songs and analyzes them in a pretty interesting way. Think of The Needle Drop, but a bit more lengthy, and he mainly just talks about stuff he likes. When Ants From Up There came out, Professor Sky called the album a masterpiece and made an hour-long video breaking down every song and talking about how all the themes perfectly fit together to make an absolutely crushing album. That video is great and already worthy of note. But BCNR was aware of Professor Sky at that point and agreed to have an interview with him, which they did in another video he made called How Black Country New Road Made Ants From Up There. In this 3-hour, 2-part video, he talks with the members of the band, as well as Sergio M., the band's producer and engineer. During this interview, they talk about a bunch of different topics relating to the album, mainly focusing on inspiration, direction, and influences behind the songs. Outside of these 2 massive videos, Professor Sky also has a few other BCNR reviews, where he talks about the band's singles, as well as reviews on Live at Bush Hall and Forever How Long. Ants From Up There demos. I heard in one of Professor Sky's videos that he was sent a demo of some of the songs from Ants From Up There, and so I assumed that they would eventually be released to the public at some point, but I wasn't ever able to find them online. It seems as though they were sent to Professor Sky as a show of respect and gratitude for his support of the band, and he didn't want to leak them. I'm assuming they don't exist out of the private messages between the band and Sky, but there's a chance they exist somewhere else on the internet. Good with Parents. Good with Parents is a side project from Lewis, and it sounds like an electronic-y, synthy pop kind of thing. I listened to some of it, and it's okay, I guess. Nothing super interesting if I'm being honest. Trevor Meow. Trevor Meow is a short video of Lewis singing to his cat.
Trevor Meow. Trevor Meow.
That's kind of it. It's just a funny video that fans like to talk about. Hidden engravings on For the First Time and Ants From Up There LPs. It was really difficult for me to find any information on this, but on this Reddit thread, someone said that on the Ants From Up There vinyl, there are seasons engraved on each disc, and there's also Bob Dylan lyrics on the For the First Time vinyl. I couldn't find any confirmation on this, so if someone knows more about this, please let me know in the comments. Chaos Space Marine and Don't Stop Me Now riff. In the early stages of Chaos Space Marine's musical development, the band included a sax riff that sounded similar to the hook from Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. I can't find any actual recordings of it, but it apparently exists somewhere. I just can't find it. Concord is about Charlie's shoes. According to a few people on Reddit, the idea for the name Concord was inspired from a pair of shoes that Charlie wore in 2018, a pair of Jordan 11 Concords. I don't really think this makes a lot of sense, since Concorde is a plane, obviously, and the band wrote around the concept of Concorde as a plane, not a pair of shoes. I could see how maybe the pair of shoes made them think of the plane, but outside of them having the same name, I don't think the shoes do much else. What I do find interesting, though, is the name of the last song from Ants From Up There, Basketball Shoes. I assume that this is a direct reference to the Jordan 11 Concords. That makes a lot more sense to me, as I've always wondered why the song is called Basketball Shoes when it has nothing to do with shoes at all. Georgia and Lewis used to date. In the early days of BCNR, it was widely believed that Georgia and Lewis were dating. I don't really have much to add since I couldn't really confirm anything about this, but it seems like they most likely did. However, I don't really think it matters that much if they did because it's not really any of our business, but I bet the reason people really care so much is because BCNR's lyrics are very romantic and personal, so if a song was written from one member of the band about another member of the band, people would want to know. For the first time, USB stick. To help with marketing for their first album, BCNR released a USB stick filled with pictures and videos of the band making the album. It also had a few live rehearsals from the band. Unfortunately, I can't find any of these videos online. I'm sure they didn't release very many of these USB sticks, so it makes sense. For the first time, album artwork comes from a guy the band met in a Houston underpass. In an interview with The Needle Drop in 2021, the band said this about their early album art.
There's definitely like a certain kind of aesthetic to it. Is there anything else beyond sort of like just putting the focus on the music and there not being any other distractions to it other than that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's a guy that does the art for it who kind of just approached us on an underpass in like Houston, who said, I'm doing your art, and we didn't know anything about
That's a pitch.
And his name was Bart.
His name was Bart. He said, I'm Bart the art.
Yeah.
I'm doing your art. And he and so he just decided to start doing it and held us to ransom. So we had no choice about the matter, and we've just started.
We have
doing
no influence in it at all. We couldn't say anything about it. He literally just took over
he took
and started
over.
Posting on the internet all these images, attaching our music to it, and we can't do anything about it.
Across the Pond Friend is about Luke. Across the Pond Friend is a song from Live at Bush Hall, and it's about flying to go meet someone overseas. Online, people have been trying to figure out who or what the song is about. Many people think it's about Lewis visiting New York, but apparently during one of their live shows, Lewis said it was actually about Luke. I can't find much more info on it, but that seems to make sense to me. Charlie's Puffin Calendar Reviews. I find it really funny that this spot takes up the entirety of the last tier, but on Twitter in 2022 and 2023, Charlie randomly started posting about his calendar with little puffin pictures. Sometimes he would give a small comment as to the quality of the puffin picture, and sometimes he would just talk about the new year or whatever's on his mind at the time. Also on this page is a bunch of other random funny stuff, but he doesn't post that often, with his most recent post being a few months ago when Forever How Long came out. Anyway, that's the whole Iceberg. I'm going to be putting a lot more videos out that are exactly like this, so if you're into this kind of music, please like and subscribe. See ya.